Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Getting With the Program, talking about Episode 9 of Volume 2 of RWBY, Search and Destroy. I am, of course, your ever-friendly Pokeprof, joined once again by Kross.
Hello.
And Ashen Sky.
We are exactly 3 minutes behind schedule. Come along now.
So, this episode, I want to say, is pretty dang interesting compared to some of the other episodes we had, simply for the tone change, I think. The episode starts off with us, really getting to see the Doctor, actually, considering he's not just a Mister, he's a Dr. Oobleck, or...
Oobleck.
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 Oobleck. Oobleck. It's going to take me a while because this is only the second time we've really seen him.
Mm-hmm.
But he's basically doing his whole rushing thing around. We have the girls get to say goodbye to the rest of the main cast, which being, Team Juniper and then Sun and Neptune. Which I kind of love how Sun and Neptune have just kind of like, oh yeah, no, we just kind of joined the school. We're just part of the school now. No real reason. But then,
well, they're from another territory, and they're not part of Beacon. I think they're both from Vacuo.
Oh, really?
Oh, which ones?
Sun and Neptune.
Yeah, I think they are.
All right. Well, they never made that clear with Sun.
They mentioned being from Vacuo, so.
Well, yeah, but the way Sun, interacts with the others and kind of just plopped into school, it feels like he kind of just went straight into Beacon. It didn't say he was here because he was part of the other kingdoms or the other schools that had come to Beacon. So that's why I was a little confused about that. Neptune is a little bit more, open out there, so I was like, so we'll just have to see. But the actual episode in itself, after they say goodbye to the rest of the cast, is actually a lot of talking. Mostly from Dr. Oobleck. And it's actually more of him really trying to figure out what makes the girls tick. To where he actually asks all but RWBY just why they became huntresses.
Well, honey, I don't think his questions were simply meant for his own investigation, but also to make them think about the reasons they choose to be huntresses.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It's like... It's not something I expected, to be entirely honest.
But before that, his reaction to why.
Yes. I love the fact that Zwei just pops out and Ruby's like, "Get back in there." And then Dr. Oobleck just grabs and's like, "Yes, dogs are the perfect most thing for this because they have the best sense of smell and hearing and yada yada yada." And it's like he just keeps on going on and on about how good dogs are for being able to track and shit. It's like it's a little puppy. It's a little wiener dog puppy. It's not going to do that much.
He's not a wiener dog. He's a corgi.
Yeah.
He's still a mini. He's
the war corgi. Fear him.
He is a mini puppy. He's a
wargie.
He is not going to be doing much, if at all.
You'd be surprised.
We'll find out, but he's still mini puppers. Anyway, but that was his reaction. Then we get a couple of fight scenes here or there, mostly the girls showing off their stuff. No Bumblebee or Ladybug cries this time. It's actually just the girls fighting solo, so we get to see a little bit of their powers. But then we get to find out, the doctor just goes and asks them, hey, why are you doing this? What's the real reason? And for the girl's answer, we have Yang, who says flat out, "I'm a thrill seeker." It's like, I want to have as many crazy adventures as I want. And if I help people along the way, that's awesome. For Weiss,
she's an adrenaline junkie.
Yeah, well, I think we kind of noticed that from the beginning of the series. It's like she is literally high on life. It's like she even has the frickin', deal with it glasses and everything. But for Weiss then goes and is like, I have a legacy to upload, and it's like I can actually fight. I have skills that not many of my family has otherwise, so I knew what to do with my life once I learned that. And then for Blake, it was there's so much, corruption and, racism and all this stuff in a world, and I want to make the world a better place. But I love how with Blake, the doctor actually asks, okay, how? And Blake doesn't have an answer. And then the rest of the girls start thinking about, what they're going through, to the point where they even say it's like, the answers that they gave the doctor don't necessarily fit as much as they thought.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, I found to be pretty interesting.
I liked the Oobleck's response when the question was turned around on him.
Oh God, yeah. To where it's like his whole thing is, I'm here because I want to learn. I want to be able.
He looks at this area that they're in that suffered a lot of death and destruction at the hands of the Grimm, and he says, "I look here at this place and I see lives that could have been saved."
Exactly. It's like
and the girls were talking about how they haven't seen him actually in action as a hunter yet. And one of the things he told RWBY is like, I could probably help a lot of people with conventional weaponry, but I realized I can do more good with my mind by educating others.
It's kind of like that old saying. It's like you catch a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Yes, he could kill 1,000 Grimm with a single blow, but there'd just be more coming after that. By teaching the students, by preparing them so they know how to fight the Grimm, know how to deal with them. He's basically putting a sword in the hands of, hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of different people who can then go off and save the world. Which is a really interesting way of portraying a hunter, I think. It's like compared to Mr. Walrus. It's like he's like, oh, I've shown them this power of my axe and all that stuff. It's like, no, this other teacher has a little bit more depth to him than you would realize.
To be fair, Professor Port's a comedy relief character.
Well, and Dr. Oobleck isn't?
Clearly not with the serious side we've seen of him.
Well, that's the thing I can love about certain series, if they do it right, is you can have a character who is absolutely the comic relief or is there to make you laugh, but that doesn't mean they can't have serious moments or dark moments. It's like the anime Slayers is a perfect example. Half that series is about comedy and being silly and off the wall, but when things get serious, that falls away. And the characters are willing, even like the stupidest of characters, Gowry, is willing to go, yeah, no, it's time to get serious. It's time to fight.
If I may make a prediction, somehow, some way, that thermos is a gun.
I can't remember, honestly.
It shows up too much for it to not be some sort of firearm, especially since everything's a gun in this setting.
I mean, Torchwick himself has his cane, which turns out to be a frickin' grenade launcher, so I wouldn't be surprised. But then I think one of the more interesting things was the fact that we got pointed out that there are Grimm that will not willingly just attack humans on sight. It's like we have
because they've evolved and learned.
It's like we have these giant elephant-like Grimm that literally are just tromping around in the wilderness to the point, and it's like immediately RWBY is like, let's shoot him. It's like, no, it's like those Grimm are so powerful and so strong that they treat everything else as insignificant. Don't know why I was tripping over that. Tongue just does not want to work. But these Grimm are just that strong. But they've also learned, it's like, yeah, they can go and kill a human, no problem. They could probably kill, a good number of humans without issue. But they also know the fact that the humans will remember and will retaliate. So instead, these particular Grimm are just holding back. They're waiting. They're conserving. They will attack when they know that their numbers or the Grimm together as a whole will stop being feral wild beasts and all join in a single attack on the humans together. But they know that time isn't now. And so instead, they just live and wait. And that's a really scary thing when you think about it.
Yeah.
Especially since every other Grimm we've seen up to this point has been, ooh, human, tasty, let's go kill it. Overall, though, this episode was a lot more somber than I was expecting it to be.
Well, considering the area that they're in and its history, it's no wonder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can do that, but it's like, I've seen a lot of other shows, games, movies, what have you, have, like, the characters go through this ruined town or this ruined city, and it never has... not never, but it rarely has the kind of impact that really makes you go, oh shit, things have happened here, or oh, this is a time for us to be quiet and understanding. Mm-hmm. It's like the last time I saw a movie that really hit that note and hit it well, honestly had to be the animated Mulan, where it's like you have this whole freaking happy-go-lucky, a girl worth fighting for song that literally dies on the last note because they entered this ruined town that had been attacked by the Hun.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
It's something that has, to this day, when it comes to that movie, has stuck with me. And I got that similar vibe from this episode, from this area, especially as the episode itself was ending, where you just see all the girls just laying down, just trying to get some sleep, while RWBY keeps watch, and you hear this howl in the background. It's literally had that vibe of, crap went down here, and we gotta stop more crap from happening. And I really like that. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think?
Considering the setting of this whole series, it makes sense that you're going to have the occasional episode that really touches upon the seriousness of what's going on, and wants to make you understand this world is not all fun and games and action and everything. Yeah. There is a serious threat to the people that live in this world.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, is so far that threat hasn't really been front and center.
Seems like we may be getting closer to it being so, though.
Yeah, it feels like...
Especially with that music choice at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
As the subtitles clearly stated, ominous ending music.
Well, in all seriousness, it's something we do see with a lot of series. It's like that first season will be all happy-go-lucky, or more happy-go-lucky than the rest of the series. But once the writers and the voice actors and everyone find their pacing, their groove, for lack of a better word,
their stride.
Yeah, their stride. Then they go and it's like, okay, so let's go and make this darker.
Too dark. I'll add some coffee creamer.
I mean, perfect example that I can think of off the top of my head would actually be Avatar: The Last Airbender. Because that first season is a lot more happy-go-lucky than everything after that. It's like start of the first season, penguin sledding. Later on in season 3, blood bending. So yeah, I'm not sure if RWBY is going to be like that just yet, in terms of that darkness of like Avatar got at points.
There are going to be some shocking moments later, just to warn you.
Okay. Good to know.
Nope, can't watch it now. Too dark.
Sky is not a fan of dark and yucky and whatnot. Even for the stories that like have characters that suffer a little bit, he's like, nope, I am not interested.
Give me my rainbows and fluffy unicorns.
But, one thing I liked most about this episode, even though it had a little bit, as you said, a more somber tone, we're getting to see a bit more of what's behind the facade that the girls seem to put on, and their reasonings for doing what they do. The only one that we don't have a solidified reasoning for yet is RWBY, because Oobleck didn't ask her, but we're going to get to that.
Honestly, I think out of all the characters, RWBY is, despite essentially being the main character, she's the one we honestly know the least about. It's like we've seen, the history of Yang and what she's gone through. We know why Blake is here and why she does the things she does. Even Weiss, who we haven't seen as much as Blake and Yang have, we know just by her story is the fact that she's like the youngest daughter of this massive empire. It's like that's a storyline. Most people are familiar enough to know some of the paces of what Weiss is going through. RWBY, on the other hand, all we have really seen from her is this happy-go-lucky girl who just loves weapons and is willing to do pretty much anything she wants to do just to do it. It's like we know she has a sense of justice, but that's about it. We don't.
Well, her happy-go-lucky attitude is partially attributed to growing up with Yang, who tried to get her to, embrace the good parts of life and not just the dark and down aspects of it. But also, once you actually get to meet their uncle, you'll see another influence there.
Uncle Crow? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it spelled with a Q?
Because poor literacy is cool. Love you, Linkara. Other than that, though, not sure what else to really say about this episode.
They pretty much covered it.
Yeah. Upwards and onwards.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Any final thoughts before we end it off, guys?
Puppy!
War Corgi.
Oh,
Wargy.
We're gonna take this Corgi into battle. Well then, folks, with all that said, we're gonna go ahead and watch the next episode. But until then, stay frosty.
Later.
Have a good one.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and I wanted to thank you for watching yet another episode of Getting With The Program. If you got any suggestions on how to make the show better, or you're just wanting to say hi, leave a comment below. If you also like and subscribe, that will definitely help us out on the channel. Also, be sure to check out the upcoming episode of Fascinating Fiction, a solo series in which I'm wanting to do a little bit more scripted content. You can also follow both me and Kitty, and I believe also Sky as well, on social media, mostly Twitter, and as well as when we stream on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays over on Twitch, where we mostly just play games that I've never played before and goof around. Hope to see you guys there, but until then, stay frosty.